Hi there, Richard Fulmer here, and welcome to episode 106 of Richard's Rock Rambles. So I hope everybody's doing alright out there, staying warm. It's pretty chilly here in Cape Town at the moment, but as long as there's good music to keep you warm, you're sorted. So we're going to carry on looking at our Hidden Gems section, and tonight we're going to look at a band that was formed by 3 ex-Yardbirds members, plus an assortment of guests on the 2 albums that they released. Not many albums, just the 2. And they were kind of an anomaly, really. They weren't hard rock, they weren't blues, they were a sort of a mixture of the 2, along with a lot of pop sensibilities, obviously coming from the Yardbirds, who had a number of hits in the late 60s. And just the 2 albums, but they were really interesting and have become somewhat of a collector's item, especially the first album. The second album didn't do as well as the first, but still worth a listen. So the band were put together, as I said, by 3 ex-Yardbird guys with a whole bunch of guest musos. So who was in the band? Let me just check out the names for you. Jim McCarty, he was an ex-Yardbirds member on drums, percussion, and backing vocals. Then you had Chris Drajar, I think that's how you say his name, on rhythm guitar, percussion, occasional backing vocals. And Paul Samuel Smith on bass, backing vocals, percussion, and occasional synthesizers. And then as part of the core band, they also had a guy by the name of John Fiddler. Slightly unfortunate surname there, but nevertheless. He did all the lead vocals, acoustic and electric guitars, backing vocals, percussion, and occasional synthesizer. So he was quite a talented guy. He brought quite a bit to the party. So this is the album that I'm talking about, Box of Frogs. Kind of a strange cover there. It's almost like a Picasso kind of cover. I wouldn't know, maybe that's even one of his paintings, I'm not sure. But those are the 4 guys at the back there in their 80s finery. So this album came out in 1986 or 1984, I think this was. 1984 was the first one, and the follow-up was in 86. Obviously, sometimes these one-off things, they don't do that well sales-wise, but eventually they become collector's items, and this is definitely one which is a collector's item. There's some rock radio-friendly tracks on here, but the first is marginally better than the second. I think the second is a bit disjointed for me. And that was in 1986. So both of these albums, this one and the second one, which was called Strange Land, the one we're talking about today is simply called Box of Frogs. Second one is Strange Land. They were put together on a single CD, so one of those double-sided jobs, in 1996 by the label called Renaissance Records. So that's probably one to check out, because then you get both albums. I think there actually may have been a sort of an unofficial EP that was also not for general release, and I'm not too sure. That's like a bootleg kind of thing. If you want to really be a completist and get all of the stuff, that's another one to check out. I'm not too sure of the name of that though. So what are the tracks on here? And this is where it gets interesting, because there's quite a few notable guest artists on here, some who had played with these guys in the Yardbirds. Cheers. So the first track is Back Where I Started. As I said, this is quite a commercial album. It's not heavy by any means. It's not raucous, but there's some really great guitar work on here. Don't let it fool you. I think they were trying to get an accessible album for the masses. And, it has that 80s sound. The drums aren't really acoustic. They're sort of that synth drum sound, which I hate. But I can live with it on this album. It's not too bad. So Back Where I Started, Additional Frogs, Box of Frogs, Jeff Beck on lead guitar. Now, of course, Jeff Beck was part of the Yardbirds back in the late 60s. Mark Feltham on harmonica, some great harmonica on that track as well, and I'm a big lover of the harmonica. And Peter John Vitesse on keyboards, and if that name doesn't ring a bell, he was at one stage the keyboardist for Jethro Tull. So there's a couple of notable guys on here. Harder is the next track, and it is a little heavier. Some nice guitar work on that track. And the guys on here are Ray Majors on lead guitar. I'm not too sure who he played for before. Also on backing vocals and percussion. And then Max Middleton on keyboards. He's played with numerous bands and solo artists, as well as being in the Jeff Beck group. So you can see the connection there. Another Wasted Day with that sort of, the guy on vocals, John Fiddler, he had a really great voice. And on this track, Another Wasted Day, it's almost like he's singing in a hushed tone. Just gives it a bit of atmosphere. Really cool track. Jeff Beck's on there again, and Peter John Vitesse on keyboards. Then there's a track called Love Inside You. There's somebody called Dizal, I'm not too sure how you say his name, on slide and lead guitars, and Max Middleton on keyboard. So Max Middleton is on quite a few of these tracks. And then the last track on side one, back in the vinyl days, is none other than Ireland's finest, Rory Gallagher. You know, he makes an appearance on the slide guitar, and then Max Middleton again on keyboard. So that was side one. A really cool side. I mean, it's songs that have got great hooks, a lot of melody, and they stick in your head. Especially the Another Wasted Day, Back Where I Started, with some searing lead breaks. Amongst the sort of more commercial sounding song, you suddenly have Jeff Beck just break out and do his trademark kind of solos. So then we go to side two, Two Steps Ahead. It's a song about criminals and that kind of thing. Really interesting lyrics, actually. And Jeff Beck's there on lead guitar. And then Into the Dark is the next track. Rory Gallagher makes another appearance. Max Middleton and a guy called Guy Barker on trumpet. Some nice trumpet on that track. And then Just a Boy Again is the second last track. Dizal on lead guitar. Peter John Vitesse on piano. And the last track is Poor Boy with Jeff Beck on lead guitar and somebody called Geraint Watkins on piano. I'm not too sure who some of these guys are. They may have been just session musos, excuse me. But yeah, they really all add something a little extra to the album. It was recorded at the Ridge Farm, and the engineer was Max Norman, and he's been engineering so many great albums over the years. The illustrator Patty Dryden. Okay, so it's not Picasso. Apologies to Picasso. This is somebody called Patty Dryden. Photography by Chris Drazier and Peter Wood. So one of the ex-Yardbird guys was involved in that photograph. And special thanks to Nick Stewart for his inspiration and support. Produced by Paul Samuel Smith. So one of the Yardbirds produced the album. It's a really cool album. I struggled long and hard to find this. I eventually found it at one of the vinyl fairs that I go to, and I grabbed it straight away. I'd like to still get hold of the second one, Strange Land, if I ever come across it. But yeah, so this came out in 1984. And as I say, it does have that kind of 80s sound to it, but it's still a cool album. So there we go, Box of Frogs, another one to check out if you haven't yet. Kind of a collector's item, I suppose. But well worth a listen. I'll catch you guys again soon. Take it easy out there. Look after yourselves. Stay warm. If you haven't yet, please, down below, give me a thumbs up. Any comments, it'll be great. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so. Take it easy. I'll catch you soon. Cheers.